How to build a leadership team. First thing you should probably do is ask yourself the question, do I need a leadership team? Now, I love this question. And the answer is definitely yes, you need a leadership team unless you plan to personally answer every call, file every insurance claim, perform all the treatment, all the while keeping this big, bright smile on your face. Now, don't worry. This doesn't have to be this huge org chart that looks like the family tree of a royal dynasty. A leadership team just means that it's a few people with the skills and, of course, the patience to keep the wheels turning so that you can focus on the things that only you can focus on and do, which is provide quality health care for patients in a professional, comfortable environment and get people healthy. That's your job, is to get people healthy. So what does a small leadership team look like? Well, here's a quick example. Now, I worked with a practice that had no leadership team, and every day the doctor was putting out fires and dealing with the vendors and explaining the lab ordering process to every new hire that came through, and still, again, tried to be in three places at one time. So I just suggested that they create two leadership roles. Let's have an admin coordinator and let's have a clinical lead in the back. Now, the admin coordinator handles training and onboarding and kept the vendors in check, because remember, your vendors are nothing more than employees, and they need to have regular meetings and be held accountable for what they're supposed to be doing. And the clinical lead oversaw the lab situations and made sure that supplies were stocked and that the rooms were stocked. And suddenly, the doctor didn't have to do all this. So they weren't hunting down supplies every day or explaining the same old thing for the 10th time that month. You know, this lean structure, this lean leadership structure brought back sanity to the office. So for a one office setup, you don't need this massive team. An admin coordinator and a clinical lead can make all the difference in the world. And with you as the CEO and the chief dental officer, you're all set. This setup works beautifully, and you go about this until you get to about 3 or 4 locations, at which point it's time for a little more structure. So let's talk about setting up a leadership team actually for growth. I've worked with a practice that expanded to 5 locations in just a few years, and suddenly the original team just wasn't cutting it anymore. That team that I just explained to you a little bit earlier. Now, the doctor was spending half of his time driving to each location, again, trying to keep up with all the details. It was time for titles. You know, we need certain titles. And my suggestion is keep this simple. Don't go too corporate right now. We need an operations director. We have office managers and sometimes even regional managers. He initially resisted this structure because he worried that, you know, it would feel too corporate. But here's the thing. Everyone loves clarity. Each role has a clear job description, goals, and some metrics that they can look at. Team members knew what they were supposed to be doing and how they were supposed to be doing it and what it looked like to succeed. And the doctor, he could finally, again, focus on the big picture, the big strategies, patient care, and instead of wondering who was handling insurance claims in office number 3. So structure and discipline are the key, okay? So organized meetings became essential. When you have 5 practices and you're continuing to grow, you have to block off meeting times for every 6 months in advance. I mean, make sure those get on your calendar and everyone is held accountable to being there. Even if it means, I know you're going to hate this, but even if it means that you have to reschedule a patient or 2, you have to have meetings. You have to work on your business as well as in your business. So the doctor wasn't exactly thrilled, you know, to be in more meetings at first, but they quickly realized that a well-run meeting actually saves him time, and if you save time, you're making money. So with clear action plans, he wasn't getting constant calls for quick decisions. When someone had a question about a tool, a training session, or a resource, it was brought up in the meeting and handled there. It wasn't, you know, a fire every time. So this practice went from playing constant whack-a-mole, if you will, of getting ahead of problems, you know, before they turned into emergencies, into an office that was lean and mean and had the opportunity to continue to grow. Now, the last thing that I want to talk about is the right fit for the right role. One time I had a client and they had a person who was a real go-getter. I mean, incredibly creative, full of ideas. She tried to help with payroll, but got so distracted that the team was scrambling to meet payroll deadlines. She's now thriving in a marketing role because that's where she belongs with all this creativity, where her ideas drive patient engagement. And payroll is running smoothly again because someone who is a little bit more structured and can sit behind a computer is now doing that. So the right roles are very important for the right people to be set up for success. So the bottom line, leadership is essential for a thriving business. Now, if you're having fun and seeing solid profits, congratulations. Believe it or not, you probably have a leadership team. If things feel harder than they should, or profits aren't where they are, then you may want to look and see what's going on, because chances are you probably need a leadership team. It's time to create and strengthen that team. It takes effort, but a few strong leaders will absolutely reward you with simpler days and more profitability in your practice. And if you need help getting there, don't be afraid to ask, or just go for it. So, I hope this video helps, and if it didn't, don't worry. You can always delegate the rewind and replay to someone else.